certainly something I know is actually coming to fruition, and we should brainstorm a little bit about how to attack that together.
That's interesting, man. I it's a dirty little secret that
Hey everybody, I'm here with Pete Daring today. He's been a friend of mine for a while, and he is the awesome founder of Peak Design. Really cool design company. They are, if you're in the camera space, you definitely know who they are. If you're just into really cool adventure gear, you also probably know who they are. Based out of San Francisco, really design first brand, doing great things not only for the adventure consumer, but also for the environment. So I'm super excited to have Pete here. He's an inspiration when it comes to innovation. And Pete, if you don't mind, I'd like to start there. What are
that's
you seeing in the market for wireless charging? What pulled your company into that direction, and what gets you excited about it?
well. What's funny is, what pulled us in is are the cameras itself, right? We're a photography brand. We see very clearly the
Got it.
improvement. It was 2016 when the iPhone 10 came out and portrait mode was released. When I was on a motorcycle trip with my dad, and I took some photos of him, and I had my SLR on capture,
Mhm.
you know, and then I had the phone, and I took a picture with each, and I was like, "Oh shit, I like the photo of the iPhone better." And it was just like it became actually a feeling of like an almost like an existential need, and where to like to start to partake meaningfully in the fact that these phones are cameras. So you'll have to follow me for a little bit. So we got phones as cameras. We got, okay, what's the most important accessory for a phone, which is a camera? Well, it's certainly got to be the case. Well, there's a lot of phone cases out there. What makes it better? Um, I have a personal passion around not just photography, but I'd say photography, motorcycles, cycling, mountain biking, all of these things. And at each one of these turns, having your phone rigidly held in place and
Mhm.
accessible and usable, kind of like capture, right?
Yep,
Like you
totally.
can think of capture as the clip for the big camera. This Slim Link is the
Yep.
clip for the small camera, which is your phone. And so there it is. That's right. And
Best case.
so, yes, you've got a strap and a clip on your
Yep.
on your phone case. It should look familiar, and it's very much in line with the thinking that we've had there all
That's cool.
told. And so, man, all of these things combined. But then, obviously, the phone is such a useful tool for freaking everything, almost annoyingly so. It's just absolutely ubiquitous. And so you really got to think about and cover the other use cases that are involved there. And one of those absolutely is well charging your phone. But if you look at the Peak Design charger, got one right here.
Yeah, we got one right here as well.
Yep. It's not just so like the requisite thing for a charger for us, like if we're gonna make the best charger, which is what our mission kind of that's our guiding principle is that it's not to it's not to just be like, I don't know, use some superlative in some empty way when we say make the best things as
Okay.
point one of our mission. It really ends up being a guide stone for us for what can we do, what should we do. Like
Yep.
it's more about product market fit, and it's also like trying to keep us from just making me too products,
Mhm.
which I will tell you, like the temptation to leverage the brand, and like we got to use this big machine now that is Peak Design and it's 85 employees. It's
Mm.
like the temptation to just like get some products out there is there, but like that's why we have that mission that says make the best thing. So when we make the best charger, to us that meant like it is actually quite useful to be able to have like kind of turn your phone into a laptop sort of situation. It's also got to be a beautiful piece of
Mm.
gear because it's going to be hanging out somewhere in your kitchen or on your bedside table. And, generally speaking, you're going to want something aesthetically pleasing to be on that. So, and then also like getting really into the details, this thing is really properly weighted such that you can remove with one hand
Super
and
important.
exactly, it is important, and it's actually not that you wouldn't necessarily notice it, unless you use this for a while. Like if you're using an Apple MagSafe charger, that's either a very awkward one-hand release, like you're trying to kind of
Mhm.
knock it off with like two fingers or something like that, or
Yep.
it's a two-handed release. And you might say, well, who gives a shit? Two hand, one hand, you do these motions multiple times per day,
Yep.
and like they all add up, and I think it's somewhat it's imperceptible in like the momentary the single action, but you notice it over time where it's just somehow pleasant to interact with a peak design product.
Mhm.
And I think that really contributes to people just developing a real affinity for the brand.
Yeah. With having done a lot of different chargers for phones, but also for other markets, whether that's
Mhm.
wearables or computer peripherals or smart glasses or whatever it is. One of the things that uh, really stands out in the product that you're hitting on is the real intentionality behind how the one-handed process works.
Mhm.
And it's really, I think it's especially important if people use this on their nightstand.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
if someone like picks up their phone in the middle of the night or something happens, and then you want to go put it back on, being able to just reach over and just generally place it and know that it's going to start charging.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you what people really don't like about charging, and you can see it in Amazon reviews and you can see it in product returns. They don't like when they wake up in the morning with the 10% battery that they thought was securely placed on their
Oh man.
charger.
Yeah.
And so I think nightstand charging is super important. I think automotive, it's quite important. You guys have your motorcycle mounts, so a little different than in car, but in car charging right now totally sucks, Pete. Like and it's crazy. Like you can buy a $90,000 vehicle, like an electric vehicle, and so you're like, they should be pretty good at charging and battery
Yeah.
technology, right? It's like
Yes.
an electric vehicle
Yes.
company, and then you put your phone down to charge, and it gets so hot in the first 5 minutes because the alignment's so poor and it's not well designed. And it makes you doubt the car. And so what I think that you've done really well is you've leveraged kind of powerful technology,
Mhm.
including the NuCurrent technology that's inside, and you've really turned that into a satisfying experience that shows off like what you can. There's other chargers out there. There's literally
Sure.
hundreds of other chargers out there, but very few, if any, have put the type of design thinking that you have into solving a problem and really making it enjoyable. So I've seen a lot, and I would say kudos to you. There's a reason it's on my desk as the one that I use.
Hell yeah, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it is it's a really interesting um I'm glad you mentioned the car. There's also and we make an excellent car charger as well,
Okay.
but like that it is still to your point, I was just like I just saw someone driving a Porsche Taycan, which I think is $150,000 electric
Hmm.
vehicle, and their
Hmm.
phone is sitting awkwardly in the cup holder, like upside down, like
Yeah.
with a USB-C thing plugging in. It's
Just the way
funny.
Porsche dreamed it up, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what the Germans had in mind. Um, I don't know what that is. That's like why they. I mean, I guess look, physical products are hard to make, and I think it's probably pretty likely that Qi 2 chargers will be coming natively to cars. Is that how? Do you feel that way as well?
Yes, they should. They're not going to be ubiquitous though. Well, sorry. Let me distinguish one thing.
Okay.
There's Qi 2, and
Uh
then
huh.
within Qi 2, there's the MPP, which is the magnetic power profile. For
Okay.
most consumers, what they think about is MPP, that is Qi 2. I think even in this conversation, I'm thinking about the magnetic attachment, which is
Yeah.
part of Qi 2 MPP, but you don't have to be MPP to be Qi 2. So there will be some automotive chargers that aren't leveraging the magnets, the MPP. They'll all have Qi 2. That's not a question, because if you want to charge an Apple or a Samsung, you have to be Qi 2. So that's not even like a question. The question is around, will they all be MPP? I think you'll see a divergence that won't be ubiquitous, but car companies are trying to figure out how to perfect the alignment.
Hmm.
And I can tell you there's an age old problem. You guys can launch accessories. I mean, literally for your phone sleeves, you have to
Hmm.
launch a new accessory every time a new phone comes out because they're so
Hmm.
precisely fit. And so your product cycles are like 12 months or faster, probably. Think
Hmm.
about the lifespan. And then the lifespan of your product is probably 2 to 3 years, depending on the renewal rate of the phone.
Mhm.
Think about a car, the average scrap rate of a vehicle is 10 and a half years. These
Mhm.
meaning they stay in the market for 10 and a half years before they get turned into recycled materials. Think how many, that's 3 to 4 phone generations that someone's going to go to in the time they might have that car. And how do they keep the sizing and how do they keep the orientation right when it comes to things like charging? So I think
Yeah.
MPP answers a good amount of that, but it's challenging.
Yeah.
Anyways, I diverged. I wanted to like kind of talk about it a little bit, but your question was, will all the cars have G2? They will, and some will have MPP.
I think, yeah, I think that also, relatedly, all phone manufacturers, or excuse me, all camera manufacturers or car manufacturers rather, like they don't want you to be accessing your phone, right? They're all going into the touch screen and where they're trying to say like your phone should be away. And I understand
Hmm.
that from a driving standpoint, it should be.
Hmm.
But that's not actually what customers want. Customers
Hmm.
still want to be able to access their phone and have it visible and have it be the least distracting. Like, I mean, frankly, it's more distracting if you're trying to access it and it's way down here than making it more easily accessible. So it's an interesting little corner of the market for
Sure.
sure. But and then you could talk about motorcycles as well and what we've been able to do together with charging on
Mhm.
motorcycles and other
Right.
power sports because same problem exists. In fact, it's actually a greater issue, especially with like kind of more adventure vehicles because you're
Yep.
using the hell out of your phone usually. There's usually a lot of GPS, a lot of mapping involved there. A lot of times there's some music, a ton of compute is going on your phone in order to help out your experience, and you need that thing visible. And it's bumpy out there, so you're going to want a system like Peak Designs to help you out there.
Two other little tidbits there. I
Hmm.
fully support this, Pete. We have a few phone calls to make to some ATV companies that we work with, and we'll take that offline. But something we've learned about the market that also applies to golf carts. So
Mm,
there's a lot of similarities in golf carts and ATVs in this respect. One, people are using their phone for streaming audio a lot when they're doing like off-roading or mapping,
yep,
but they're using a lot of power.
yep,
Two, they're generally not in as good of cell areas, and so their phone's working really hard to keep cell service, and
yep,
so they're draining their batteries. Three, they're outside, so the screen's extremely bright. What this
right.
all adds up to is it's a competitive environment for power, meaning
Hmm.
you're using a lot of power.
Hmm.
You want that visible. It's actually a really instrumental part of the golf experience. Like people use rangefinders on their phones now, like yardage and stuff. They're listening to music, they're trying to keep connection with the cell tower. All of that adds up to meaning they really do have a big need for rugged mounts and the
Yep.
ability to keep their devices charged. So certainly something I know is actually coming to fruition, and we should brainstorm a little bit about how to attack that together.
That's interesting, man. I it's a dirty little secret that I like playing golf a lot, and I use the
I
Peak
thought you just
Design.
like mountain biking and
Yeah,
hiking.
yeah, yeah. No, I
Manicured
grew up
greens too.
I
All
grew up
right.
ripping pitching wedges back and forth at the soccer field with my brother. We used to just try
Yep.
to hit each other with golf balls,
There you go.
100 yards away, and so got decent at that. You play?
Yeah, not super well, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, right on. And yeah, that like I, it's kind of I would love, of course, for the Slim Link mounting architecture to become, like we're kind of caught in between. Like, do we try to make this thing ubiquitous and make this
Mhm.
because there isn't a the you know the this mounting system? It's very very built around the magnetic system. You've got this combination of hard locking and soft locking. This is like a whole rabbit hole of conversation
Yeah.
that kind of led to the development of Slimlink in the first place. Again, kind of dovetailing with the advent of wireless charging and like this question of like, is it going to be of prominence? Is it not? I mean, before, like way back when, like 2013, 2014, when we first started thinking about these things, it was, hey, quad lock is cool, but it's really thick on the back of my phone, and it's a pain in the ass to like find that thing and get in there. And it was kind of like, well. the actual sweet spot is magnetic plus mechanical. Sometimes you just want a soft lock, like we
Yep.
have on the charger.
Got it.
Sometimes
Yep.
you want a hard lock. That all led together. Wireless charging came in, made things actually super duper complicated for us. And then when Apple decided to put magnets in the back of their phone in iPhone 12, it basically made us totally retool our designs and go and try and figure that out. But it also, like, it created, from that kind of is that what um, sort of elucidated the MPP in your opinion? Was
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Apple
Yeah.
was a major driver of MPP. I don't think the market was going to go there until Apple came through and they said this is how we want our phones to work. And if
Yep.
we want, there's European regulations regarding the need to standardize. They can't create custom power adapters anymore. So they put a lot of wood behind making sure the
Mhm.
industry came along with them. On that. So absolutely, Apple was a driving force of the concept. There's a lot of contributions from other areas of technology to make it possible across an ecosystem of diverse products. Because
Mhm.
Apple is very good at designing within their walled garden, but they
Mhm.
don't get to control what Huawei, Xiaomi, Samsung, Lenovo do with their phones. So
Mhm.
the interoperability, the way to make it work, the way to make it fair, so that like
Mhm.
the Apple phones aren't getting an unfair advantage on infrastructure chargers. That was a community effect, but the vision behind needing the magnets and like really pushing that was an Apple concept.
Yeah, right on. Well, we're grateful to be a player that like has kind of been able to sort of we were on the forefront, not of the magnetic, or not of the wireless charging component of that, but just the idea of using magnets in cases as this mountable thing.
Mhm.
And it's really cool how that all came together. And it was a lot of churn and a lot of difficulty. Peak Design had a different magnet array in our early cases. It interfered with wireless
Yeah,
technologies in a different
yeah.
way. And so, man, I'm really grateful. Obviously, NuCurrent's been a really big part of driving this
Mhm.
thing forward as well, and
Yep.
allowing for a standard to develop that a lot of companies can participate in, but mostly so that, like, for somebody like us and other companies, just to take the uncertainty out and, like, say that this is a standard that we are marching toward. It's
Dude,
massively important.
standards really exist for interoperability, so devices will work, and it exists for reducing costs, so that like the commodities, the components can come down. Because
Yeah.
when the whole market knows there's going to be hundreds of millions, then all of a sudden the inputs to the market can say we're going to optimize for that frequency, we're going to optimize for these form factors, and they get really good at making components. What that
Yeah.
opens up, the interoperability and then the reduction of cost on the commodity side, allows companies like you to come in and innovate, and it creates a broad range. There's $30 chargers on Alibaba and Amazon, and then there's $150 chargers, and
Yeah.
then they kind of hit different niches, and it allows for a diversity of different products. And I think you guys are crushing it, Pete.
Oh, thanks, man.
In G2, which is something I know about, and the other area that I don't know much about, I can at least cheer for you and say I love it, but I don't feel any expertise there. But I still have a passion for what you're doing. You're building a phenomenal company. It's great to partner with you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I appreciate the innovation you bring to the world, and thank you for sharing that today with me and with anyone that watches.
Jacob, totally my pleasure, man. And same back at you.
Yeah,
Been, been
thanks.